Welcome to Voice Bootcamp, a global name in unified communication. Hello, my name is Faisal Khan, CEO and founder of Voice Bootcamp Incorporation. In this self-study kit of Cisco UCCX Advanced Scripting, I'm going to show you how to write a script for prompt management with XML file authentication. Idea behind this script is that the user will be asked for a user ID or employee ID for example, a 4-digit code. And based on that information, it will extract the username and the PIN number from an XML file. This username and PIN number, which will be predefined in that XML file, will then be used to check against the call manager, and if they are valid or match, then the script will continue. The PIN number will be 5-digit in length and must be validated to ensure that it is 5-digit. Now, once the PIN number is validated against the call manager database, if the authentication is successful, then we'll go ahead and record the caller, give the user an option to record a prompt and upload that prompt. Now, these are my variable list for this particular application. There are various prompts that I have created for various functionalities. I have most important variables here are these for you to pay attention to: str XML file name, str XML name, str XML pin, str XML start. So we're going to use these three variables to look at the XML file and extract information. Then you have these two variables, which are end user name and end user pin. Now these are the two variables that's going to host or hold the value of the username and the PIN number from the XML file, and then we will validate against that call manager. Then we have the admin user. This is the variable that we need to authenticate to the UCCX server, administrator password, which will be defined somewhere at where right here. As you can see, password is Voice Bootcamp. Now these are some of the common variables. Some of them are used, some of them are not, but again these are the listed variables. Now, another variable that we need to pay attention to are these two variables right there: user list doc and directory. User list doc contains the XML file name, and the directory contains the path or location under prompt management where the prompt file will be uploaded. Okay, now let's start with the XML file first. So in order to host that information, I'm going to create an XML file that looks like this. So an XML file is a standard file with the following tag: user list. Underneath that, you got the employee ID 222. These are the 4 code ID that we will extract from the user and then match against this field. And once we identify the record, then we will obtain the username from the username field and the PIN number from the user PIN field. And we're going to store that information into the respective variable, the end user name and end user PIN. So these are the three things that we need to look at. Now, from this particular file, we really don't care about the user list tag, but what we are interested in is starting from right here. So this is the level that we want to start for look for. So to do that, I need to create 3 variables that will represent this tag, and this tag. So the most peculiar way of doing it is by one of the fastest, easiest way is to create a string variable. In this string variable, what you see right here is quotation / employee, then bracket, @ ID equal to quotation, single quotation and double quotation. Now what it is, this @ symbol basically does is replace it with a space. Now of course we're saying look for a field that starts with the word employee, which is right here, employee, and we want to put a space there, so bracket space ID equal quotation, so that be ID equal, and the reason why we need the single quote right there, so that after single quote we can put a value, we can put a variable that hold the value that we collected from the user. Double quotation that you see right here is basically for this particular quotation to close it off. So this is basically to just look at the first field. Then you're going to have another variable which is called str XML name, and these variables point to this particular field right there. So we're saying bracket / user name. Now the reason why we're using this bracket and is because of the we need this to close this particular thing right here. So between here and here will be the user ID, and then we're saying look for this field name called username, which is right here. So get the value of this, which is fcon, and store that value into this variable called str XML name. All right, so that's for the second field, and the last but not the least is your PIN number. So for that, you're going to create something very similar to the previous one, except it's going to be user PIN, where it will obtain this PIN number that you see right here. In each record, it will be stored into these particular variables. So these are the three most important variables that you're going to need to construct the XML path that we're going to use. All right, so now again, what we're going to do, we're going to say the XML path is going to be this plus the ID plus one of this. All right, so now let's talk about starting the script. So we're going to start the script just like any start script will have the start node and annotate node. You'll have an accept step to accept the call. Until it hit the accept steps, the call will the phone will continue to ring. Now, one of the first thing that we do here is, for example, set the path where we want to upload the temporary prompt. So what we do is we create a variable called record prompt temp path equal directory plus record prompt temp name. So it will be the directory plus the file name. Now these are all three variables, and these variables are created in the variable pen. For example, the directory, this is this variable right here that shows you which folder should I create the prompt, or the prompt should be located. Then you have your temp name, the name of the record file, which is a string, and you can call it, this is a new prompt.web as going to be the name. And both of them, so it will look something like this: prompt / user / en _ us / new prompt.web. So that will be the actual file name, and that information will be stored into this variable called record prompt temp. Now if you're not sure what that particular record is, prompt is variable type that it is, you can just go back to this variable label. So you will see right there where record prompt, I think that right there is a string variable. Okay. All right, going back to my previous screen. So after you define that, next step is to use a get digit string from your media step, is to use the get digit string to collect the end information from the end user. So whatever the information we want to collect, we want to be able to store that information. So we're going to ask the user to please enter your PIN number or employee ID or your batch ID, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't matter. And once we collect that information, we're going to store that value information into a variable called ID. Now, ID is a string type variable. And when we collect the information, we will make sure that what user enter is valid format. So we use the get digit string, right click, go to properties. We're going to say that store the information into this variable called ID, followed by go to the prompt, And in the prompt tab, we're going to say this is the announcement will be made. So prompt welcome might say, hey, welcome to Voice Bootcamp. Please enter your employee ID. That it just could be that. So once the prompt is played, then under the input, we can provide some timer. Like initial timer will be 5 seconds. That means the user has 5 seconds from the moment the call is connected to enter something. And if they don't enter anything after 5 seconds, it will go to either probably timeout. And then after 5 seconds, if within 5 seconds, if a user has entered something and then does not enter anything for another X amount of seconds, then it will hit the inter-digit timeout. So in this case, 3 seconds. So that means the user has 3 seconds from the time they enter the first digit to the next one, or last digit from the next one. So in this case, the inter-digit timeout will try. Now, if it's maximum, it will try 3 times. So you repeat the process 3 times, and at that moment, it will say, "Are you there?" If you don't answer anything, it will say, "Are you there?" So and so. So that's an indication that you have not entered anything information. If you do enter something and somehow is unsuccessfully able to store the information, then you will have unsuccessful event take place. So get digit string basically provide 3 branch. You got successful branch, meaning that successfully collect the digit. You got the timeout branch in case if it timeout means the user did not enter anything, and then if unsuccessful, which could be for many different reasons. So once that is done, then you're going to use the filter tab. In the filter tab, you're going to define the length of your input. I know whether it should be 5 digit, 10 digit, totally up to you. And what are the digits should be allowed. If for some reason you decided that, you know what, 0 cannot be part of a number, just uncheck it. And then terminating digit, you put the hash key or the pound key so that you can enter the hash key and pound key to expedite the call. So when you hit the hash key or pound key, you are basically discarding the inter-digit timeout. All right, so once this is, so get digit string part is done. Now we're ready to move on to the next step. Now we're going to expand that successful into an expander so that we can add more code in there. Now if the information that we collected from the user is successful, then the next step is to read the XML file. Remember the XML file we created in the second slide? We want to be able to read that file or create a path to that file so that we can extract information from there. So that's why we use this command called user list doc equal to create XML doc. Now user list doc already contain the name of the file. If you look at the variable list at the top, you'll see that this user list already contain name of the file. So we're saying get the name from that file and store it in the same variable anyway. So what create XML document does, it creates a path to that file. It doesn't read the file. It opens the file, but it doesn't read it. It does not read the content of it. All it does, open a connection to that file. Then using the 2 variables that we have, end user name and end user pin, we want to collect the respective information. If it is end user name, we want to collect the username. If it is end user pin, that means we want to store the pin number of that user. So we do that by using get XML document data. Now this is what the get XML document data looks like for the username. So choose the file that you want to open the XML from. Whatever the result, whatever the value you want to pull from that file, store that value into this variable called end username. The question is, what value am I retrieving? That defines by this XML path. If you click on this little box arrow down to expand it, you'll see something like this. str XML start, which is, remember, employee, which will be what, / employee ID, then bracket @ ID equal dash quotation. So str will be that. Then the ID will be stored right here. So after plus sign, ID will be whatever the user has entered, 2222, 4 digit. Then plus str XML name, which basically says something like this. username. So this is how we construct the string. We're going to say take the value from this username, put into this variable called str XML variable. So whatever the value of the username is going to be stored into this variable. So in this case, this username right there, because this points to this point to this, and the ID points to this. Okay, so it's going to take the value fcon and then store it into this variable called end username. Now once that is done, then the next is user pin. So you will do the exactly same thing, except the resulting data will be end user pin, and then this one is going to be end user pin. All right, so moving on to the next step, which is to check the if statement. What the if statement is doing is basically saying, making sure that username is not null. So we're saying if end user is not equal to null, so this is the not equal to sign, exclamation dollar equal sign. If the end user dot length, if it's not null, then it's true, right? Because if it is not empty, then it's gonna be true. Well, if that is true, that means that user account is there. We want to make sure that the pin length, what we collected from the VXML file, sorry, I keep saying VXML, what we collected from the XML file, make sure it's a 5-digit. So we're saying if the end user pin length is equal to 5, which is true, then we're going to set the variable called pin equal to whatever the end user pin is. And then we're going to trim it. Trim basically says remove any white space. You know, sometimes the user might have accidentally put a space in their, pin number. Once we make sure that the pin, actually this is not really even required. I believe this is not even required. Let me double check it. All right, so we set the pin, then we're going to say authenticate user. Now the authentication part, we're saying authenticate user, this is actually not even required in this scenario. Authenticate the user based on the username end user, which was obtained from this particular line, and based on the user pin, which was obtained through this particular line. And we're going to use the pin number for authentication as opposed to the password. So you can do both, it's up to you. So once this part is done, if authentication user will have two branch, successful and unsuccessful. It is going to be successful if this pin number match the pin number that is configured in call manager. But if it is not matched, then it will be unsuccessful. Therefore, we'll go to an area called invalid option. But if it is successful, we'll go to an area called pin successful. Now, it's for some reason, if this true, if this condition, if this statement where the end user is not null, it'll go to false, where we're going to say, okay, invalid option. And so there are two false that you have to deal with. This is for this if statement, and this false is for this if statement. So in either cases, we're going to send the calls to invalid options. Okay, so once you validate the authentication successful, your next step to keep track of how many times is trying. So we do put a variable called retry, which is the integer variable. We increment it by 1 every time it passes through this. And then we do a check. If retry is greater than or equal to 3, then the prompt retry has expired. That means you have tried more than 3 times. But if it is false, then we're going to say prompt retry, and then go back to enter pin. So what happened in this scenario is that if user did not enter anything, or if the user has invalid, it's going to say, well, okay, if it's less than 3, give him an option to try it again. So you're going to go back to this area, right where it says enter pin. Let me take you to that level. Yeah, it will take you to this area and ask for the user for entering the ID again. All right, so let me jump back to my previous place. Okay, so this one. So now once the print is retry, then we go to a menu. We'll create a menu where it says that menu will be record a prompt, listen to a prompt, timeout, unsuccessful. And then when we go to record prompt, we'll have his own menu, listen to prompt will have his own menu, and so on and so. And this menu, when you go to right click property, you're going to what you call general tab, go to filter, and in the filter you're going to type the two connection, record prompt and listening prompt. So 1 to record, 2 to listen, for example. Now once the menu is given, your next step, if you press 1, so I believe which is oh yeah, record prompt, you press 1, it comes to this area. We're going to increment the retry recording once. We're going to say on exception, go to exception. So if there is for no activity for a certain amount of time, the call will go to an area called exception. All right, at this stage, record prompt, we're going to say record prompt doc, which is a document variable, which is equal to recording step. And then you go to, in the recording step, you're going to select the name of the document variable that's going to store the information that recorded from the end user. In the prompt, you're going to select the audio file that's going to ask the user to enter whatever he or she wants to record. So this is going to say, hey, please record your message after the tone. So you will store that information to prompt record instructions. That will be your following step. Then if this particular statement record has two branch, successful and unsuccessful. Successful branch meaning that you have been recorded successfully, but now it's up to you to save the file. So to save the file, we say write document. We're going to write the file to a temporary path. So you say write document, which will be right here. Get the value from the document, put in, store the file as record prompt temp path, which is like a kind of a the first step configuration step that we did after this accept procedure. Now once that part is done, now we're going to have a second menu option where they can replay, write the file, re-record, or go back to main menu. So once the recording is done, when you record it, you are given a new option, menu option, replay, write, re-record, or go back to main menu. All these options are mentioned in this particular prompt. Now, of course, once the prompt is played, you go to filter and you define those menus just like in any regular menu, and you will have multiple branches that will expand once you click OK to this particular window. Now, to expand the replay, so what you want to do, you want to press 1 to replay. You just simply replay the message record prompt temp name, because this is the temporary file where your message has been recorded, whatever the prompt that you have defined. You simply click on that and then go to verify, save. Now once that is done, then you expand the this is the name of the prompt, as you can see right there. Now to write it, so when you press the number 2 option, which is to write or save the file, so first thing you need to do is get the user or the caller to define a name that you want to be able to use to save the file, usually most in a form of numeric name. So here, for example, using get digit string, you're going to ask the user to enter some sort of name. So we're going to store that information into a variable called suffix. And then I'm going to prompt the user saying, please enter the name that you would like to save the file as. I mean, whatever the prompt you want to define. And followed by the filter, you define, filter right there, where you define all the options that are available. Now keep in mind, get digit string doesn't let you type pretty much any alphabet, so it's only limited to numbers and A, B, C, D alphabet. So you're gonna have to use most likely some sort of numbers to save your file as, like 8888.web. Now, once we collect that information from the user, we're going to store that information into this variable suffix. Then we're saying set name equal directory, which is, remember, the path, plus suffix, which is the name. So let's say I put the number 8888.web. So it's going to save it as 8888.web file. So this is the reason why we're using this set command, is to basically concatenate the path directory number name, which is like a prompt slash us underscore en underscore us, then the name of the file, then the extension. Once we get that information, we're going to create a confirm prompt to let the user know what the name they have defined. So you're going to use the following steps, which is confirm prompt name. So you want to confirm the prompt name that user has entered. So you're going to get the value, put the value, concatenate means whatever the prompt name plus the suffix, and the output is going to be this one, prompt confirm prompt name. And once you have that information stored into this, is going to then play it out back to the user, play the prompt. So this generates the prompt. See, this concatenate basically generates a new prompt and stored into this variable, which will be then played into this play media. Okay, so that's where the play prompt comes into play. All right, so once that is done, now you want to save. So you want to ask the user, would you like to save? So you can use a get digit string to get a value, which is a form of 1 or 2. 1 or 0, whatever options you want. So you want to say save that input into a variable called save. Then prompt, you can ask the user, please would you like to save? You say, you press 1, you go to filter, the length is going to be only 1 digit. Now if you're only going to allow all only certain digit, 1, then it doesn't make sense to these digits to be enabled. Okay, so you have to know what digit. So 1 or 0, you can say 1 to save or 2 to ignore. So in this case, we're gonna select 1, where this particular right here, successful. If you successfully entered 1, it will go to the success branch, and in the success branch, we're saying if the save is equal to 1, then write the document. So write the document to the name. So what is name? So first of all, let's go back one slide. What is name? Name is this. Name is a directory plus the prompt name. The file name .web. So we're saying write to this file prompt record prompt doc with the file name. Then we set the prefix again, name equals suffix plus .web. And once that part is done, now we're going to use authenticate the user, because we need to whenever you're uploading something to UCCX, you need to authenticate. So we're going to say user equal get user, which is admin user, and that is the name of the administrator from the variable. So in a variable, we define a username called administrator into the variable called admin user. We're going to store that into this variable called user, which is a user variable. Then if it's successful, we're going to authenticate the user account. So in the authentication, we're going to define the username, and the password, which is again defined in as a variable. At this time, you're going to select as the password. Once this is done, if it's successfully authenticated, we're going to upload the prompt. So we're going to say language is going to be English. Is going to choose the English language folder. Name, whatever the name is coming from. So in this case, the name will be 888.web. And document, that is the actual variable that contains the audio file. And this is the username that you're going to use to verify, because when you upload something, you got to upload it as a user. If there is a file already exists, you can overwrite it. Once you try, you can under successful, unsuccessful, keep going false, and then you can say decrement retry, so that you can keep track of how many times it has been retried. But at some time, when you have successfully saved the file, you need to decrement that value, and then you can say try again. Now that's the write. Then record, if you want to re-record it, it says decrement the value, retry, and then go to try again. Now try again, it will take you at the top where you can start the whole process again. I think one of the label is somewhere above, which you can go back and check it out. So main menu, go to pin successful. So you'll go to the section where there's to a label called pin successful, and if it time out, it will try again. If it is unsuccessful, you can try again. So try again will be probably somewhere, let me check, going back. It should be above this menu. Okay, so here's a try again. So it'll come here, is going to play the prompt, say please try again. It's going to check the retry, because you want every time you try again, you need to make sure that it did not exceed more than 3. As long as it's less than 4, then it's going to go back to record prompt, and record prompt is available at the very top, somewhere right here. So it's going to start from here again, and when it starts from here, it's going to increment the retry and continue the whole process. All right, so once all this takes place, if there is an exception, such as inactive contact, go to in exception area. Oh, that's basically, I gotta go back to the bottom. I think we were right here. Oops. Let me make sure I'm in the right slide. Right there. So we retry, timeout, retry again. The timeout 2 seconds is quite slow, so you want to give it a little bit more, time. So maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Now play prompt, which is if it is successfully saved, then tell the user that prompt has been successfully saved. Set the retry to 0. That means it's initialized back to 0. You can go back to record prompt if you want to try start all over again, or exit the main menu, and the whole thing continues. So this is the try again area, and it will, when it comes to this area, it's going to play a prompt saying please try again. If not, and if it is going to pass through this, it's going to check if it is 3 times or less, 4 times less than 3 or 4. If it is, go back to record prompt. If not, you can hang up. So these are the stuff that you see, although they are called upon requires. For example, when you say hang up, the call comes here. It's going to prompt saying goodbye. You can set the call to handle, so you can mark the call successful. If you do not mark the call as a handle as a mark, so what happened is the CDR record will show the call being maybe abandoned. So we want to make sure that it is marked in the CDR properly. On exception, at the end, you want to clear the exception, so make sure that there is no memory steps. Of course, the last step, which is to write the content of the record file into a temporary file. So you write the content of the record prompt variable into a c.temp file. So in case if you need to copy that, it's available on that file name. So you can go and take it in your save it in your USB drive or whatnot. All right. So now so if you press I believe listen prompt, listen, like for example, third menu option, listen prompt, then it's going to ask you to get the file name that you want to listen. So you suffix get digit string. You're going to say please enter the file that you'd like to listen to, and you say if it's successful, you're going to say set listen to prompt equals suffix dot web. So if you enter 8888 file name, so the set listen to prompt will be 8888.web file. So that's the file you're going to play back. So you're going to say play prompt listen prompt, the file name. Delay for 0.5 seconds, go back to listen prompt again, and then you can decide to do it, listen it again, or you can exit from the system. If it is timeout, so if the suffix is, if you entered hash key, then you can say go back to pin successful and give you the main menu option, or you can go back to listen prompt to try again. Okay. So that's pretty much the script. Now this shows you how to the listen prompt part. So now the real lab that we have, which is right here, the actual lab. So again, start the script, accept the prompt, set the directories, get the user's information, successful, these are your document reading, and so on. So the whole script is pretty much straightforward. Now I'm going to upload that script. It's actually uploaded. It's going to use that to show it to you. So while I open a file phone, okay. Now I have already uploaded the script under script management, because I know as I test those scripts, it's already there in the system. So you will see right there, lab number 10 is script management. I will create the application. I will call this, let's change this one in iBase. 2600, let's change it to lab number 10. Nothing much needs to be defined here. Invalid prompt, you may have to define an invalid prompt. So I will select a prompt file. Okay, so now I'm not sure why that happens. Let me try again. Okay, I'll log out and log back in. Okay, let's delete this and read. Okay, it seems like it's due to my backup primary secondary UCCX server being down. So let me initiates DB replication. Because if you look at my here, it says UCCX server is unknown, so whenever site secondary server is unknown, it will cause problem. Okay, I had to reboot the server. So anyway, I was able to save the script as application. So this is my script, lab 10. I will define the error code just in case. Technical issue. Now, as far as the user list doc, there is a user list.xml file is already defined. Pin length is 5. This is already hard coded. Now you can change it if you want to. So let's see if it's going to work. So I'm going to dial.
Your call cannot be complete.
Oops.
Your call cannot be.
Okay, so it says my call cannot be completed. Let me check to see if it's registered. Seems like someone deleted my trigger. Okay, I'll add a new trigger. So let's call this 2800. Lab 10, lab 10. Okay, and update. Okay, so let's try 2800. Okay, I just had to wait a little bit for it to register.
Welcome to the prompt recording application. Please enter your PIN number now.
2222.
To record a prompt, please press 1.
So as you can see, it's authenticated.
Please press.
Okay, so I'm going to go and run a debug mode. Okay, so I'm going to, I gotta log out and log back in. I'm going to run lab number 10. Redial. All right, so accept. Next, accept the call, set the directory, enter the pin, ask get digit string.
Welcome to the prompt recording application. Please enter your PIN number now.
2222. Okay, so successful. Goes to list step, string. Now, as you can see from here, look at the end, these two variables, right? Right now they're empty. So let's say if I go to next, see the end user name, it picked up for fcon. If I click next, it will pick up the password, the pin number. Then it's going to go check the pin number length, though this step is not necessary. Authenticate the user. Successful. Goes to pin successful area. This is where you're going to hear the option.
To record a prompt, please press 1. To play a prompt,
I'll press 1.
Press.
Goes to record prompt section. Increment the retry, so it's a 1 try right now. Exception, just in case if there's an error. Record the prompt. So this is going to ask me, at this stage, it's going to ask me to record the prompt.
At the sound of the tone, please record your prompt. When you are finished, please press pound.
Welcome to Voice Bootcamp. This is a test for lab 10. Okay, so writing to the temporary file, saving it. It's going to give me an option, a menu again.
Press 1 to review your prompt. Press 2 to save.
I'm
press
going
3 to re-record.
Press 1, which goes to play prompt, replay. Welcome to Voice Bootcamp. This is a test for lab 10. Alright, so now go verify. Now menu again. exception, save the file to temporary folder, listen to the prompt again, go to desktop screen, oops, inactive channel. Okay, that is weird. Let me try again.
Welcome to the prompt recording application. Please enter your PIN number now. To record a prompt, please press 1. To play at the sound of the tone, please record your prompt. When you are finished, please press pound.
Welcome to Voice Bootcamp. This is test for Lab 10.
Press 1 to review.
Welcome to Voice Bootcamp. This is test for Lab 10.
Press 1 to review your prompt. Press 2 to save. Press 3 to re-record, or press. Please enter the 4-digit number for your prompt name.
So I'm going to enter 6666.
Your new. Please try again.
6666.
Press 1 to review your prompt. Press 2 to save. Please enter the 4-digit number for your prompt name.
Okay, let's try 3333.
Your new prompt name is 3333. Press 1 to save your prompt.
Okay.
Your prompt was successfully saved. You may disconnect if finished or continue
Now
to
if I
record
go
an
to
additional prompt.
application prompt,
At the sound of the tone, please record your prompt.
English.
When you are finished, please press pound.
I should see 3333 web file right there. As you can see, 3333. It was just added right now. As you can see, the 11th of August, right about 8:45 Eastern time. Sorry, Pacific time. And right now 11:35 is Eastern. All right, so that's pretty much how this script works. Hopefully you found it useful. I will see you in the next script.